Ambassador Joseph, as you note, and as General Hayden testified last week, it's not the declared sites in Iran that's the biggest concern. It's the undeclared sites, the military bases where Iran has cheated in the past, the ones that the Supreme Leader still says we'll never see. Those are the ones we've got to be concerned about. You note the considerable delays that can be employed by Iran, drawing out what should be 24 hours to at least 24 days. But let me add one more concern. This suspect site provision is another one of the aspects of this agreement that expires in 15 years. And I'd like the members just to concentrate on that for a minute. As I read this provision, it says, the general provisions section of the agreement says a reliable mechanism to ensure speedy resolution of IAE access concerns as defined in Annex 1 will last for 15 years, period. All right? So by my read, this is the same time that Iran will be dramatically expanding its program. Without the suspect site provision, international inspectors would just be relying on their underlying authority as part of the additional protocol. So, Ambassador Joseph, how comfortable are you with that situation?
Sir, I share your reading of the agreement, even though there are gaps and ambiguities. If I'm uncomfortable with the suspect site provisions in the first 10 to 15 years, I'm very uncomfortable after that. It makes a bad situation even worse. I would like to, because it has been raised, just comment very briefly on this notion of being able to detect cheating because of our ability to find traces of uranium, enriched uranium, or plutonium. The IAEA this year has raised concerns about Iran's cleanup at the military facility at Parchin. And they have stated that they very well may not be able to conduct a thorough investigation given Iran's activities. Also, not all prohibited activities are traceable through uranium, enriched uranium, or plutonium. I mean, just think about manufacturing centrifuges, for example, with no traces. There are many things that Iran could do at suspect sites that would not be detectable through the national technical means that we have. The suspect site inspections are, as I say, a fatal flaw in this treaty, because that's where Iran is going to cheat. I'm not as worried about Iran cheating at declared facilities, where the IAEA inspectors are watching them. I welcome the additional access to those facilities and the additional information that the IAEA will get under the additional protocol and other provisions of this agreement. But that's not where the cheating is going to occur. It's going to be at the suspect sites. We know that because that's where it has occurred in the past, and we know that because the Supreme Leader and other Iranian leaders have said we will not have access to military facilities.
Okay, and as you note also, if this agreement is going to really take away Iran's path to a bomb, why would Iran continue pouring money into its ballistic missile program? Why has that become such an obsession for the Supreme Leader that he says it's their responsibility to mass produce ICBMs? Just what does this provide Iran in terms of money to invest in the missile program, missiles that can reach the U.S., and the ability to access foreign technology with respect to what Russians wanted out of this deal at the 11th hour? With more money in foreign technology, where does their program go, and what more should we be doing on missile defense? I say that because up until now, in the interim agreement for a year and a half, we lifted and basically allowed $700 million per month to go to Iran. And during the same period of time, we see the announcement of the transfer of new rockets, new missiles, not just to Hamas, but now the precision guidance systems into Hezbollah. So they're doing something with the cash. Ambassador?
So Iran will have access to tens of billions, hundreds of billions over the period of this agreement once the sanctions are released and the assets are provided to Iran. With that money, as you point out, they can invest in their ballistic missile program. They can invest in their nuclear program. They can invest in their terrorist surrogates. They can invest in the Revolutionary Guards and the fomenting of even more instability throughout the region. They have put a real priority on ballistic missiles, not just long-range ballistic missiles, but short and medium-range ballistic missiles. This seems to be their delivery means of choice. And in terms of an ICBM, as you pointed out in your opening comments, this is a capability that only makes sense with a nuclear front end. It only makes sense in that context. And so one has to ask the question, why would they be spending all of this money on an ICBM capability if they had no intention of developing a nuclear weapon? In terms of missile defense, I think we need to work with our friends and allies in the region, providing even more support to Israel in our partnership on missile defense. We need to work with our Gulf Arab allies on missile defense, as we're doing, but to expand that capability. We need to ensure that our forces in the region are adequately protected from the shorter and medium-range capabilities. And I think first and foremost, we need to begin to invest more in the defense of the American homeland. That's what the ICBM is all about, holding American cities hostage. And what has happened is that we have canceled the original third site in Europe. We have canceled Phase 4 of the phased adaptive approach, which was the only capability that would have the ability to shoot down a long-range Iranian missile. We need to either reinstitute a capability in Europe, like the Phase 4 capability, or at a minimum, I believe, we need to build another interceptor site like we have in Fort Greely in Alaska on the East Coast to protect against the ICBM threat, because protection of the American homeland, I think, is the first priority.
Thank you, Ambassador Joseph. Mr. Engel.